Brady got 2 touchdowns.
Brady?
Yeah.
Shit. Alright, well, we're ready to roll.
Yeah, let's do it.
Is there a red light? Do you see a red light on?
No.
No. Yeah, we're not going to be able to tell when this thing shuts off. I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes. Set a timer for 10 minutes.
Okay, 10 minutes and counting.
Alright, should we open it up?
Gentlemen, how you doing?
Welcome.
My name is Kareem Bazali.
I'm Brian Daniel Damien. Cassidy.
Cassidy?
Yep.
Yep.
Thanks.
This is, I guess, the pre-trade deadline.
Sometimes the dread line for some people.
Okay, we're starting again. 3, 2, 1. Hey, welcome. My name is Kareem Bazali.
I'm Brian Daniel Damien Cassidy.
This is the pre-trade deadline.
Or dread line. Preview.
Or deadline preview.
Quick thing off the top. Our deadline is Thursday, November 10th at noon Eastern. Obviously, we have 3 commissioners, but we all have lives, so I understand there's strategy in waiting until the deadline. But if you're going to try to rattle off a few right leading up to noon, you got to understand that it's going to take us a couple minutes to ratify them and make sure that they're good to go before making them official. So, yeah, let's really try to get going on that the night before and then early in the morning, not right at noon if possible. Other than that, for this one, we're going to try to keep it pretty much fact-based. We don't want to blow anyone's spot, strategy and stuff before the trade deadline. And then after the deadline, we'll do our recap like last year where we give our, whatever the opposite of an expert opinion is.
Right.
Non-expert, maybe.
Non-expert.
Yeah. So for this one, we're just going to basically focus on team record, their point differential, and if that is indicative of a fluke or pretty accurate. Any key injuries, and if we think that they'll probably be active at the deadline, selling or buying. Anything else before we start at the bottom of the standings?
No, let's get it going.
All right, so first off, we have starting at last place, Spooky Ghost.
Infamous.
Last year, I don't recall seeing anything like it. Finished 7th in the standings, number 1 in points. That was ridiculous. And now to see it, well, not flipped, but more bad luck. I don't know how it happened. But then you look at the team, he's got AP stashed. So obviously if he wanted to, take a little swing at the deadline, he could obviously cash him in. Matt Ryan, the number 1 ranked quarterback. What else you got?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the team, it's just he's taking some tough loss. He's actually my opponent this week, so he'll probably get a win, which will make your decision even harder. But where we're at right now, it looks like for my money, I would probably be looking to possibly sell, unless, like I said, I really think some things are going to happen. But we'll see. It's going to be a real interesting 2 weeks here. He does have Adrian Peterson stashed, and I like his wide receivers. Matt Ryan, who's just sucked forever, is now producing. So I don't know. It's a tough call.
Yeah, it's interesting too. While I would obviously think sell where he is in the standings, then you look at the guys: Allen Robinson, Jordy Nelson, Jeremy Maclin, Mark Ingram. All names that you would have thought going into the season would produce.
Yeah, absolutely.
You would still think that they would produce, but their positional ranks are nuts compared to where you would think they would have been. So finding the fair value for those guys will be interesting, especially because guys like Jordy have an interesting keeper tag.
I'm interested to see what he does with Cole Beasley. I'm wondering if he thinks maybe I'll hold on to this guy. Maybe he's got some value. Maybe he's the new Wes Welker.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Maybe he's just a hot commodity.
Yep, and he's also got Ladarius Green coming back. He has him stashed. So in terms of interesting trade pieces, he definitely has them. But
we shall see.
Anything going on? Anything else before we move on?
No, I think we can go on to next up.
All right, Kevin 2, and this brings us to our first really kind of big surprise. He is in 11th place, 1-6, but he's 4th in points for, and he's the only team with over 1,000 points against him at 1,058. And you take a look at his roster. Anything jumping out at you there?
Yeah, I mean, you look at his monster, or his roster, and you're like, this is a monsters team. Like Tom Brady, Melvin Gordon, who I still think sucks, but somehow is producing. Lamar Miller, who is a good running back. Julian Edelman, who should get a ton of, catches. Amari Cooper, this is a team where I would think hey, we have had the worst luck ever, and hopefully things turn around here. But again, you do have a lot of talent that you could trade away to try to better your options for next year. So
Gronk.
We'll see.
Yeah,
Gronk for sure.
Gronk, the fact that he
gets another touchdown today, it's a 69th touchdown.
Hey, nice. So the fact that Kev's fourth in points with Brady missing the first 4 weeks, Lamar Miller off to a slow start, Edelman 48th positionally ranked right now, and then who's the other guy? John Brown 62nd. He's obviously also had other guys like Matt Forte maybe exceed expectations. Amari Cooper's looking hot.
He's got the entire Vikings wide receiver core.
Yeah, one of them's got to pan out, right?
One of them eventually, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what he does. He obviously has trade pieces. If somebody got their hands on Gronk at the deadline again, that would be obviously a game changer. So we'll see what Kev does. He's close to the spooky ghost, unfortunate luck compared to for this year.
Right,
not as extreme, but that's pretty bad. Being fourth in points,
it's a big week for Kevin here. Big week for Kevin.
Yeah, that's the funny thing with the logjam at the middle. 1-6, all of a sudden 2-6, with a few teams maybe moving to 4-4. You never know. He could sneak being a buyer, but I would think he's a seller. All right, moving on. We'll go on to Team Shit Kickers, our inaugural champion.
Inaugural champion.
Yes.
The first.
Yes, the first. Team Shit Kickers is has 857 points, which puts them in 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th place in points for, and then not a whole lot of points against, only 878. So that puts Nuzzy in with a 2-5 record. Anything you gotta say about Nuzzy?
He has LaShawn McCoy, who's hurt today, obviously, but has had a great year. Le'Veon, who's obviously a beast, a little let down by Matt Jones, but really, and Keenan Allen, devastating injury, Roethlisberger out. You're falling on some tough times here. Alshon Jeffrey hasn't been producing. Should probably just come over to the Eagles so that he can get some, an actual quarterback to throw him the ball. Your best player is Wendell Smallwood. Let's keep it real here.
Yeah, about as real as real gets.
So. I don't know. Well, this week anyways. Le'Veon's legit, but Wendell Smallwood, Le'Veon, they're right on the same plane.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this is really the curse of the Blake Bortles, is what it is. Had a unbelievable letdown of the season so far. He kind of salvaged his last game. What was it, Thursday night? Had decent amount of points, but he had 29 yards in the first quarter and a half.
And that's the thing is, we've seen random flashes again, and we're still in that whole. What could happen? I'm done with Blake. Hopefully Ben gets back for him soon.
Right.
If not, you would think that he's still a trade piece.
Yeah, a lot of guys that if you wanted to fold, you could really get a lot of value back. I think.
Yeah.
At the same time, if you want to put all the chips in, you might be able to tie it together for a couple weeks to hang on. But 2-5 right now, it would be tough.
Yeah, absolutely tough. But just another roster with some interesting pieces that will probably be kicked around at the trade deadline. See what price you can get back. Anything else before we move on to the Moose?
Who's out going up to the Moose? No, let's do it.
Yep. All right, the Moose in 9th place, slotting right around the middle with 911 points for it. 911, interesting. Points against 974. Which puts them in at 3rd most points against. That's obviously not a fun time, but sitting here right on the outside of the playoff chase, that tie he has could be very interesting if he pulls out a win this week.
For sure. For me personally, I don't know if this team has the distance. I really like the future prospects of this squad with Will Fuller, Derrick Henry. Tevin Coleman, I guess he's a little banged up, and you got Dak Prescott. These are all guys that can really say, hey, let me sell whatever I have, get a lot of value for next year, and do what I got to do. And he's kind of already started doing that anyways, so it'll be real interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't see this one going the distance for this season, but maybe in the future. Oh, timer. I gotta check the camera.
Check the camera. All right, so I pretty much agree with that. I'm not sure off the top of my head what Dak Prescott's keeper tag is. Him and even Derrick Henry, Will Fuller, I think was like a 6th or 7th round tag, which is very interesting. Other than that, he has pieces he could dangle at the deadline, and then obviously depending on how this week shakes out, he could also be all of a sudden looking at that playoff bubble thinking, I want to play too, guys. So that's really all I have there. Obviously, Randall Cobb being banged up and I believe out this week is a pain. And Hauschka, really expecting more from Hauschka this year so far, but we'll see. Hopefully he'll turn it around. Continue? Okay. That's all I have for the Moose. So we'll move on to yours truly at 3 and 4. I should be worse, 844 points for, which is third to last, with 983 points against. That often happens when you're not a good team. You have to play teams that are better than you. Anything you have on my team?
Well, just pulling it up right here. Looks like it's in a tough spot. Obviously, you've got Carson Wentz. I'm a fan of Carson Wentz. I think he's great.
17th round tag.
That's pretty big.
So.
Jay Ajayi, don't know when he was drafted, but big time commodity right now. Tough loss with CJ, but nice to have Jay there. I don't know. One of the best tight ends in the league, actually, ranked the best tight end in the league, Greg Olsen. So there's definitely some players on the squad. Matt Asiata, who is probably going to have a monster game on Monday, which could trade, things. We don't know what's going to happen with Jarek being injured, and this is a big week for you as well here, because this could really kind of sway what you want to do. I know you've been a little more vocal towards One Direction, but hey, things happen.
I am a One Direction fan. I also have been clear. All right, well that's the
we'll talk about
now. Basically, since opening night, I said I was going to be looking to sell. That has not changed. I don't want to use this medium to try to sell my team to everybody, but basically the entire roster is open. Derek Carr and Wentz have good values. So anyway, hit me up. Deion Lewis is probably my biggest wild card coming back. And other than that, looking for picks and better keeper options. But yeah, this is a lost season, and we are moving on next to Dirty Mike and the boys. Yours truly, Boz.
Yes.
All right, so we have Dirty Mike and the boys checking in at 837 points, which is 11th, and then points against 911. All right.
Whoa.
We're blowing the roof off of this whole thing. 2 commissioners with 911 in their pool. All right.
I didn't know that until right now. That really makes me lean towards One Direction.
You didn't know that till right now. Interesting.
Didn't know that till right now.
Very explosive.
Look, just because my name's Kareem, I don't give me this shit, alright?
All right, so moving on to his roster here. Any thoughts off the cuff here?
Personally, Carson Palmer is an asshole. Michael Floyd, what the hell are you doing? I've got Jack Doyle as my tight end. I like the guys on my squad. I just think, I don't know. This is a big week for me here as well. I'm waiting to see if I want to be a buyer or a seller, because I've got some value here, but also, I'm kind of behind the 8 ball right now. I'm at 4 and 3. So if I lose to the infamous Spooky Ghost, I'm really going to be having a come to Jesus moment. So
yeah, I think this is the part of the standings that gets interesting. Obviously, we could have a situation like last year where there was a clear 7 teams in the race. 1 team's going to get left in the dust. Boz is the lowest currently ranked 4 and 3 team because of points for. But obviously, a win this week could definitely all of a sudden change that playoff picture dramatically. the ties between our third and fourth place team, Nothing Beats Cookie Season, and Team Johnny Football, that could also make things really interesting, where we could have some serious fluctuation in that, basically that 3 through 7 range in the next couple weeks. That should be something to look forward to, especially with the deadline coming up. The thing that I see with your team personally is Carson Palmer. What the fuck? Devontae Freeman hasn't lived up to the expectations, but still 8th ranked. It's just been a weird year. Obviously, Spencer Ware has been a nice wild card there and could continue to be that way. Emmanuel Sanders, he's pretty sure he's a sure thing, even with that quarterback situation out there. Jamal Charles, talk about a trade chip. We're not really sure what the deal is right there. And then obviously Flacco is elite. So Brandon Marshall, I'm not sure about his keeper tag, but in terms of the PPR,
I believe it's a 5th round, but actually, no, there'll be more juice on it next year, probably. So.
All right, but still not just a clear trade for 6 games and then he's back in the pot.
Yeah, it really is going to come down to this week, and we'll see where the chips lay there.
Yeah, this Michael Floyd Carson Palmer combo. If they could turn it on, then all of a sudden this team's a different story, especially with Jamal Charles. If they figure out whatever the hell's going on there.
That's right.
With his knee not being 100%. So, right there, again, this is where we have the, like I said, the clear, I think every team from here on out could be buyers, including Boz's team. So, next we have Dez from Blunt Force, which is Jeffrey. He is currently slotting in at 896 points for, which would be good for basically right in the middle of the pack. I think that's 7th. So, points against, 921, which is pretty significant. That's 5th most points against. Taking a look at his squad, we obviously know his wideout with some mental issues up in New York, but an awesome keeper tag in Odell.
Got absolute monsters for wide receivers. No team in the history of fantasy football has had better wide receivers than this team. Not including OBJ, because he's really not that good, but Dez and DeAndre, Demarius, like, that's crazy. And Jimmy Graham, who's going to probably have a really big day today. Actually, he's playing right now and he's having a so-so game. So either way, like, I think this team is definitely stacked to make a run here.
Yeah, and he's I noticed while he's not lighting the scoreboard on fire this year, the fact that he is where he is with Demaryius Thomas, Hopkins, and Dez all below preseason expectations pretty significantly.
Right.
That's pretty nuts. Obviously, Dalton being the 8th ranked quarterback, Blunt being the 6th ranked running back. You can always, whatever. Jimmy Graham actually being the 6th tight end. There's some, something to be said about the water finding its level there, but those 3 receivers, if they turn it on, he's going to be a really tough out down the stretch here. I would have to imagine he's a lock to be a buyer. We'll see if he gets caught. I think there's a little feeling.
Oh, I like it. He's going with the double tight end start this week.
Yep.
I like it, Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah, big decision this week. We'll see. I think year 1 to year 2 trade deadline, we saw a lot of people learning from the year before. We'll see if that happens again. I think last year Jeff kind of had one foot in the buying door, one foot in the sell. But with a team like this, I would have to think this is a buy year with not as many absolute monster contenders. So that's what I have for him. All right, and moving on. So now we move on to Cowan. Lannister pays his debts. Cowan has.
I think it's Reverend Cowan now, or.
Oh, right.
Something like that.
Something along those lines. He's 3rd in points, and this is where we get to that tier 1 teams when it comes to scoring. 3 teams over 1,000 points. Cowan's in there at 1,005 points with 909 points against. Definitely could see him having a better record than 4-3, and I think he'll be an interesting guy to watch down the stretch, especially with Aaron Rodgers not being the Aaron Rodgers that we know, and he already has that many points for it.
Right.
Anything else?
No, I think he's definitely going to turn it on. There's a lot of talent on this squad. Obviously, if he wanted to sell, he could sell, but I think he's probably in for all the marbles here. So we'll see how these next few weeks go down.
Yeah, especially James White. I know with the one bye week coming up, and then Deion Lewis coming back. We'll see what happens there, but he's been a nice piece recently. Brandon Cooks has been finally really showing that value that he could have as a deep threat. Julio is fucking Julio. And then, Rodgers, currently 9th ranked quarterback. I don't know. Have you been watching him? I just don't understand.
Yeah, but it always gets turned on eventually.
Exactly. So, like we were talking about with Spooky earlier, I'd have to think that Jordy picks it up, and then obviously that means Rodgers does as well. Just another team with some interesting trade pieces. Antonio Brown's not going anywhere, but with Julio Jones, Cooks, and Antonio Brown, that's
a lot of talent.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on to the next, we have Team Johnny Football. After a rough start to the league, Johnny Football is currently coming in at 850 points for. So currently exceeding expectations, only 849 points against. But when you look at his roster, similar to Jeff's team, where he had those big name wide receivers not showing up yet.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, between having AP and Doug Martin and Gurley, and Hyde, I just expected a whole lot more from those running backs. Now all of a sudden he's looking at Devontae Booker as being, one of the lead guys. What do you got on
Yeah, I think this gentleman, Roberto, has been he's been a product of good matchups and just kind of going with not having anybody real bad, but also just having guys that can produce but aren't really lighting it up. Stafford's been a real big surprise for him this year, but I don't really see too many other standouts, and it just seems like nobody is performing too below their level, but not too far above their level. So
yeah, Doug Martin can be stashed in the IR here to free up a roster spot. Obviously, Gurley, I think, would then be a first-round tag next year. So he's got a decision to make there. He's not necessarily definitely off the roster next year. But Allen Hurns, we've talked about the problems, with Allen Robinson's value being brought down because of Blake. Hurns is feeling that as well.
Yes.
Devontae Adams all of a sudden acting like he's Calvin Johnson incognito.
Interesting to see how he works this week.
Yep. And then on top of that, Hunter Henry, I have to think he picked him up as a free agent. And if that's the case, a 12th round tag for Henry, especially if Gates calls it quits at the end of the year. So he definitely has some serious trade chips in terms of guys that, if you're looking for a running back at the deadline, I would have to think this is the first guy you call between, I'm not sure Doug Martin's status, but with Gurley and Hyde and then even guys like Charkandrick West and Booker. It'd be interesting to see if he's working the phones at the deadline.
Roberto's going to have some decisions to make here soon.
Yep, absolutely. So moving on to the next team, we have Nothing Beats Cookie Season, our defending champ here, currently in 3rd place, with 5th place in points for with 915 points and 917 points against, which is right in the middle of the pack as well. So start with his squad. What do you say?
I'm a big fan of Terrell Pryor Sr. I think that's a nice pick up there. Probably has a really great round tag as well, so that's definitely something to hold on to. Cam hasn't had a great start to the year, but not a terrible start. He'll get his numbers for sure. Larry Fitz has had a really great year. Martellus Bennett produces as well. Tyler Lockett, we're hoping a little bit more from him. He's going to have to make a decision to make. I think he's had some good weeks, won some games. Team is probably overperforming a little bit better than expected, but that's the position he's in. So it's going to be a tough decision to make. There is talent for his squad to trade away and get picks, or he could probably be a buyer and shore up his squad to really try to make a run and kind of even out the whole roster.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Going into the year, I definitely thought with what he pushed in to win that title last year, which is obviously worth it.
Right.
I didn't think he'd be in this spot right now, which kind of goes to show why my team sucks, because I'm not good at this. So the tricky part is Cam, 14th ranked quarterback. Obviously, today could be a huge teller on where his value is, but I would think Charlie's value placed on Cam is higher than what most people would probably want to give, just because of the fucking concussion issue.
That probably makes a lot of sense.
Luckily, he'll have 2 more games before having to make a decision on that.
He has a big week here, another week, shows he's over that,
Yep. Ivory, I don't really know what to really say about his year. But then on the flip side, Crowell has been interesting. Larry Fitz, Mr. Reliable, even with Carson Palmer, like all of a sudden just like seeming like he's about to collect Social Security. Now the other problem is Martellus Bennett, 2nd ranked tight end. I have to think he's going to be coming crashing down to earth, even if they run those 2 tight end sets. But then you got Pryor. Obviously Lockett hasn't really put up much this year, but you never know with him. And then he's got Sammy Watkins stashed. And then even guys like DeAndre Watkins and Alfred Morris.
Right.
Not that I'm a big Morris guy, but seeing what Ezekiel Elliott's doing with that line.
It's just an injury away.
Yep. All of a sudden that value's there. So
could happen tonight.
Let's hope so. I mean, not room for injuries, man, but like,
Right.
I
hope he gets injured.
Yeah, exactly. So, anything else?
No, I think the defending champ is going to have some decisions to make as well. He's in a good spot now, but we'll see what happens in the next week or 2.
Yep. All right, moving on. We got lucky at Howard Johnson. We got MJ. Currently, he's in that top tier as well with 1,030 points and only 825 points against, which is by far the least. And but obviously it makes sense when you're the big dog. You don't have to play yourself, so there's less of a chance you're going to have a shit ton scored against you. Anything you see jumping out on his team?
No, I mean, he did make a move to kind of shore up his squad. So obviously it looks like he's going to be somebody who's trying to make a run at the title. Luck's having a better year, big time. He's ranked 3rd. David Johnson is an absolute beast. Robert Kelly has been performing out of nowhere. I love Kelvin. I really like the squad from top to bottom. And I think he can definitely make a deep run because he's got a solid bench too. So, and he would be even better if Eric Decker wasn't hurt. Dwayne Washington, all these dudes. It's just he's in a real good spot right now. So probably going to be a buyer even more so, or he's set and just ready to go. Looks like he's going to be vying for a title this year.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be in the mix. Mike Evans is really showing his value. Kelvin Benjamin with that keeper tag, with that ACL, I think he's going to have a 10th round tag next year. So if you want to cash him in, he obviously has that option. Jordan Matthews, it's probably just because I'm an Eagles fan and watching every game, but like 44th ranked receiver, a few of those ridiculously bad drops. Yeah. You never know. Maybe that's just because he drops stuff and that's what bad receivers do. But
team's good and it could be better.
Yeah, exactly. And he between Benjamin and I believe Sterling Shepard also has a good keeper round tag. He definitely has the guys that if he wants to dangle them for some guys, I think he could all of a sudden make his team better without having to move many picks.
For sure, but let's not give him too much good information.
Yeah, you know what? He might not have thought of that himself. So trade them to me. Don't call anyone else. That's how it goes. All right, and moving on to our only undefeated team, 6-0-1. We have our only league member with 2 beautiful daughters. We have Greg Paul McGlade at running over.
You were Asian.
Yeah, McGlade is the McGlade Prue. He has by far the most points for.
I respect all races.
With 1,155 and only 871 against them.
On the camera? No.
Do you see anything right away that clearly jumps out besides all those single-digit positional rankings?
No, I mean from top to bottom, he's just got the best players in all the positions. So it's you want to beat this guy, you're gonna have to get really lucky on a week. So it's everybody versus Philly domination here. But again, we know the world is a cruel and cold place. and one or two injuries can change everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I have to go back and look, which maybe I should have done, research before this, but I don't think we've had a clear favorite win the title. Yeah, has it? I don't know. Either way, right now, if you had to make a guess, you would think it's Greg's team. Breeze can continue to be the second-ranked quarterback. Ezekiel Elliott didn't come out of the gates hot. He's already fifth-ranked.
Right.
Now, the one clear part where I'd expect a regression is DeMarco, but that could just be a jaded Eagles fan.
Right.
With Jordan Reed coming back from the concussion, the fact that he's ranked where he is very interesting. Marvin Jones showing up without Calvin obviously is a big deal. The only real bummers, I personally didn't have a whole lot of faith in Kevin White, but the Danny Woodhead injury and then obviously Josh Gordon not being able to stop smoking pot is just a major killer.
Right.
If you had either one of them healthy right now, he'd be sitting the 7th ranked. Oh no, I guess he'd be sitting Golden Tate, but whatever.
Yeah, the team could be way better than it is now, and it's the best team. So.
And that's how it goes. But the fact that Josh Gordon, that after it being quiet for so long, we really thought this was going to happen. That would have just been nuts, especially with the fact that they had Pryor there. There would have been another threat. So we'll see. He clearly has some pieces if he wants to cash in. His
team has already left more points on the bench this week than my team has scored. So that's just where you're at. That's his squad. So it's what you're up against, everyone.
Yep. I'm not sure there's any really interesting keeper round tags. Jordan Reed, I think, might be around an 8th or something like that. I had to double check, but the fact is, if there's any team that's got those chips pushed in this year, this should be it.
And they did, they sold last year to make this happen.
Yeah, this is the hinky move. You saw the landscape. People went nuts buying. You had some of those. I think the Jordy and maybe that was Jeff. Whatever. You made the moves last year for this year to be where you are right now.
Right.
And that's what this league's about. And hopefully those teams sitting at the bottom of the standings see that and are active at this deadline. At the deadline, we'll do what we did last year, where we have a trade by trade breakdown, and then we'll give a little more attempt at humor and our own opinions, since we're not going to be blowing anyone's plans before the deadline.
And if we did that today, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and if you're listening to what we're saying,
right, you've got
just
bigger problems.
Take a look at the standings, you fucking idiot.
Right.
So, all right.
Appreciate it, guys. I guess if we have any other information, we'll send it on through. It's going to be a pretty crazy 2 weeks coming up here. Good luck to everyone.
Zip it up and zip it out.
You gotta go with something, right?
Yeah. All right, I'm just going to check the situation.
Yeah, go do everything. I'm going to shut everything down here.
All right, sweet.